Well, President Trump has some explaining to do. Why the hell is he getting cozy with Bill Gates? And why the hell is he backing an mRNA vaccine and surveillance project at the White House? A lot to unpack here. So first, on the Bill Gates piece of the story, Gates, easily one of the most evil men on the face of the planet, recently traveled to Mar-a-Lago and had a meeting with Donald Trump. They had a 3-hour dinner, according to Gates, where he says they discussed, quote, global health. Remember, Gates isn't a doctor. He steals software from people and puts his name on it. He was caught having dinners with Jeffrey Epstein. He's not a doctor. Why the hell is he sitting down with President Trump for 3 hours? He makes billions of dollars off of these vaccines pushed on populations around the world, specifically in Africa.
Wait. This dinner happened since the inauguration? This 3-hour dinner?
It happened right before the inauguration.
Yeah. Okay. All right. This is, for whatever reason, an important distinction to me.
Yeah. So remember, Gates isn't a doctor. He makes billions of dollars off of these vaccines pushed on these populations around the world, specifically in Africa, low-income areas, unwitting populations that don't have access to the internet and social media where they can jump on and say, hey, my mom died of this thing that Bill Gates was handing around in our village here.
You're fine.
Then suddenly after this meeting, Trump suddenly pulls out of the World Health Organization, which I'm all for it, which is the same thing, though, that he did back in 2020. Back then, though, Trump then turned around and gave billions of dollars to Gates through his Gavi Foundation, GAVI, which is Gates Vaccine Alliance, which pushes vaccines in low-income countries, again, all over the continent of Africa. So then today we learned that 2 of RFK Jr.'s picks to head up his vaccine safety board were kicked out. Who kicked them out? RFK Jr. had picked 2 individuals to be a part of his vaccine safety board under the Department of Health and Human Services, which he will invariably head up, it seems. But now they're kicked out. So RFK Jr. chose Stephanie Spear and Aaron Siri to sit on Kennedy's vaccine safety board. They are renowned for their unwavering commitment to revealing the truth about vaccine side effects, particularly the childhood vaccine schedule. So after this meeting with Gates, suddenly the Trump transition team has sidelined these 2 key figures, which focuses on spreading vaccine truth and transparency. Well, according to reports overnight, they were reportedly stripped of their advisory roles because of their positions on vaccine safety. Okay, I have a lot of questions here. This comes right after Bill Gates met with Trump. We need answers on this. What did Gates promise Trump, if anything? Why do these people get pushed off the board of advisories? RFK chose these people. Why did Trump or his team remove them after meeting with Gates? To me, the removal of Stephanie Spear and Aaron Siri represents a big setback on vaccine safety policy. Again, just so you understand, they collaborated closely with Robert Kennedy, specifically on child vaccine schedule. And that's one of the big things that RFK Jr. has been talking about extensively is this vaccine schedule that, like, when he was a child, there was like 2 or 3 vaccines. Now we've got 30, 40 of them on this childhood vaccine schedule. And of course, the adverse effects of certain vaccines and COVID vaccines and all of this. So he was working with these individuals. Why did they get yanked off these advisory board role? I don't know.
Right. And think of how many people voted for Trump because of the alignment with RFK Jr. You cannot betray the power that was promised to this person at this point. It would be huge in the very first week. People are wondering, where is he? We did see images of him at the Maha Ball post inauguration.
Well, he was at the inauguration. He sat right behind Trump.
Right.
He was sat right behind Lauren Sanchez's boobs. And Zuckerberg.
Did he? You know exactly.
I knew exactly where the open boobs were.
That's your beacon point for who sat where.
It's like a beacon of hope in the world.
Okay.
Like a lighthouse in the fog, if you will. And you're right. So Rain Hazelton here in our chat says RFK is the only reason I voted for Trump. Christine Miller says I love RFK. And exactly. And of course, yeah. And someone says, just ask Whitney. Well, exactly. I mean, Whitney Webb has been all over this. And she's going to join us next week on the show. She messaged me today. She's publishing a big piece that's not out yet. So we're going to have her on the show next week.
I mean, one of the things he said was that on January 20th, 2025, which was 2 days ago, that the United States government would make an advisory notice that fluoride should not be put in any municipal water. That's 48 hours late. I'm waiting for that. So, these are some things that we're just worried. Has his influence and promise slipped at this point?
And well, maybe RFK is just sitting back. Hey, it's President Trump's moment. Like, I don't need to get out and, because none of these people are really, other than Tom Homan, really going out on television and making speeches right now.
It's not President Trump's moment. It's our moment for the things that we voted for. And we have,
I get it. But if you are a part of an administration, and by the way, he hasn't even been confirmed yet as head of HHS. So he's still awaiting. We know internally there's been a moratorium on interviews. So you're not going to see Pam Bondi doing interviews. You're not seeing these other cabinet picks doing any kind of interviews right now. They've basically said no interviews until they're basically confirmed by the Senate. Mm-hmm. So they've been on lockdown. Border czar Tom Homan doesn't need a Senate confirmation, and he's been out all over television, of course, going on the border policies they've unfolded over the last 48 hours. But yeah, RFK Jr. has been quiet. He was at the inauguration, but I want answers. And if we have a chance to sit down with RFK Jr. after he's confirmed, I would love to know why these people were kicked off the advisory board. Will he tell us the truth about it? Anyway, that's one piece of this story, but we're not done. Yesterday, something very strange happened. President Trump invited OpenAI CEO Sam Altman, Oracle Chairman Larry Ellison, SoftBank CEO Masayoshi Son to the White House to push the benefits of mRNA vaccines that use AI to detect cancers. Basically rolling out Operation Warp Speed 2.0, if you will. They didn't call it that. They called it the Stargate Project, where Trump says they'll pool together. These companies are going to pool together between $100 billion and $500 billion. And of course, they'll get the blessing of the government. No word on how much government money would be involved in this. And it'll start with a massive data center in Texas, of course, where they'll sort of catalog and I guess surveil all of our gene sequences using AI somehow, the sort of big data center in Texas. So every American gets scanned, into Larry Ellison from Oracle, his database, and it'll all live in Texas, and everything will be cataloged, and they'll develop mRNA vaccines specifically for you, John, and you, Nancy. We'll know exactly how to go after it. We'll construct an mRNA vaccine that will attack and go after you and protect you. A lot of Trump supporters, of course, despised Operation Warp Speed, which pushed COVID vaccines on Americans. So this is not something many of us like at all. Remember, Larry Ellison has ties to the CIA. In fact, Oracle wouldn't exist without the CIA in the 1970s. Their first client was the CIA. There's a lot of that going around. Google wouldn't exist. CIA helped a lot of these people get off the ground. And it was called Project Oracle at the time, build a CIA database. So they're very, very cushy. So now he's going to cure your cancer? Just so you understand, an mRNA vaccine uses a molecule called a messenger RNA to instruct cells in the body to produce a protein. The response then helps the immune system recognize the protein as a foreign body, starts to then produce antibodies to attack it. At least that's the promise of it, right? But add in the idea that every American would then be AI scanned, artificially intelligence scanned, so that people like Sam Altman at OpenAI have our entire genetic sequence. And then you add in all of these other pieces from these tech CEOs, and then this shit is pretty scary. Listen to Oracle's Larry Ellison explain some of this.
Once we gene sequence that cancer tumor, you can then vaccinate the person, design a vaccine for every individual person to vaccinate them against that cancer. And you can make that vaccine, that mRNA vaccine, you can make that robotically, again, using AI in about 48 hours. So imagine early cancer detection, the development of a cancer vaccine for your particular cancer aimed at you, and have that vaccine available in 48 hours. This is the promise of AI and the promise of the future.
You can promise that to yourself.
Right. You could take that and shove it. So personalized mRNA. Yeah. Where everyone is scanned and tech companies control everything we do. No thanks. Go ahead, Philip.
Well, I'm just confused by the name Stargate Project. Like, that's such a bizarre name for what is essentially like a genetic project. Like the Stargate thing just seems weird to me. Like I'm like hung up on that. Like, why Stargate?
Well, it encompasses other things. So if you go to the OpenAI site where they say announcing Stargate, it's not only for health and genes. It talks about a collaborative computing system between NVIDIA, the chip maker, and Oracle and OpenAI. It also has a partnership with Microsoft.
So Bill Gates involved.
Right. And so they're actually talking about how they can use it for all of humanity. It's not just for health. This is just one application, one dystopic application.
Well, and think about, like, there's already a bunch of natural solutions out there for cancer. Now, if they're going to put this out with like an emergency use or something, they're going to now be able to block and downplay all the natural things that are out there that can help, so it's just another.
Well, and someone in our chat says the body does this naturally.
Right. That's a good point. There are certain cancers that you will get. For instance, don't most men get prostate cancer? Something like 90% of them will get if they live to a certain age. I believe that's the data. And they don't die from it. It's just something that most men eventually develop for whatever reason. And so you could be taking something that, to combat something that would not otherwise kill you. And so why would you do that? Now, here is my biggest fear about this technology existing. What if this blood test becomes mandated by your insurance company, or else they will deny you coverage? And what if then your insurance could cancel you if you refused said vaccine because they see it now? They see this potential. You won't take the vaccine. Then they think you're going to get cancer, and they say, well, we can't pay for the eventuality. So
that's
you have no choice
like
but to do it.
I mean, it's basically,
yes.
This is basically the plot
that's
of
exactly
Gattaca.
right. Yeah. Ooh, I'm putting that on our list of movies to show our kids.
That's a great movie. So many people on our chat said this is Gattaca, so you're not alone in that. So anyway, Robert Malone, you know Robert Malone. David, you give a background of Dr. Robert Malone. Didn't he actually create the technology behind mRNA? If I'm not mistaken. Anyway, So here's Dr. Robert Malone. Here's what he had to say about it. He said, these people have no idea how complicated the immune system is, and they have no understanding of the difficulties facing predictive computational immunology, and they have no understanding of cancer immunology. This is marketing, propaganda, and hype. So it really was a propaganda press conference. Trump and MAGA supporters are not happy about this, as you can imagine. Here's a Trump supporter, Sovereign Bra, says Donald Trump will lose his base if he supports more mRNA vaccines. Mark my words. Here's Justin Amash, libertarian, who was in Congress. He said this: the Stargate project sounds like the stuff of dystopian nightmares. A U.S. government announced partnership of mega corporations to protect the national security of America and its allies and harness AGI for the benefit of all humanity. Let's maybe take a beat here, he says. And then health expert and whistleblower Kelly Means said this about it. Kelly Means, he's talking about the natural side of this. He said a couple of thoughts on Ellison's comments here. Rates of cancer and nearly every other chronic disease are going up among children because we are poisoning them, not because we don't have enough drugs. So
he talks about President Trump's promise to end the chronic disease epidemic and keep our children safe. He talks about the only way to reverse this is not to seek it out after you get cancer. It's to stop poisoning each other, ourselves, so that we stop getting cancer. I mean, really, prevention is the only way to go about this, not go in and send, again, the way I see it is like inner space is send these little AI bots into our bloodstream. No, thank you.
Now, you'll remember Larry Ellison is the one who said that citizens, he's been pushing for a digital ID for years, Larry Ellison has, so that we would all be tracked and monitored using a digital ID. So he loves surveillance. And he loves this idea of AI, I think, as like a Trojan horse to lead us into a surveillance state. So remember, he was the one who said that citizens will be on their best behavior. Those are his words. When we have an AI surveillance system deployed across the United States to watch everything you do. Watch.
the police will be on their best behavior because we're constantly recording, watching and recording everything that's going on. Citizens will be on their best behavior because we're constantly recording and reporting everything that's going on. And it's unimpeachable. The cars have cameras on them. I think we have a squad car here someplace. But those kind of applications using AI, if we can use AI, and we're using AI to monitor the video. So if that altercation that occurred in Memphis, the chief of police would be immediately notified. It's not people that are looking at those cameras, it's AI that's looking at the camera. No, you can't do this. It would be like a shooting. That's going to be immediately, that's going to be an event that's immediately, an alarm's going to go off, it's going to be, and we're going to have supervision. In other words, every police officer is going to be supervised at all times. And the supervision will, and if there's a problem, AI will report the problem and report it to the appropriate person, whether it's the sheriff or the chief or whomever we need to take control of the situation. We have, same thing. We have drones. We just, if there's something going on in a shopping center, and I'll stop. A drone goes out there, get there way faster than a police car. There's no reason for, by the way, high-speed chases. You shouldn't have high-speed chases between cars. You just have a drone follow the car. I mean, it's very, very simple. And the new generation of autonomous drones.
Yeah. So
I'll stop, he says, because I probably have gone too far down the plot of 1984.
Citizens will be on their best behavior with AI surveillance deployed across the United States.
If you look at the WEF, where they were talking about AI in an office being able to predict like worker behavior and potential problems, like if you mix those two things together, we are now looking at pre-crime. We're looking at AI, looking at somebody's behavior, predicting that they're probably a criminal, and then alerting the authorities.
Right. And then this goes on some sort of permanent record of some individual, and if they try to apply for a job or go to college or some other issue down the line, some of this is probably in some sort of a database somewhere that's keeping them from, sort of a social credit score. I mean, this is the great fear, right? That you won't be able to get insurance. You won't be able to get a mortgage on a home because you have all of these like AI blemishes on your record. Like this is where we're heading. And this is the big concern, of course, at the border too, like biometric scanning for people coming in and out of the United States and all of this stuff. So I think we need to be very, very wary of this stuff. And when we see these press conferences, like who the heck, we need to say no to this. And we need to tell President Trump, like, absolutely not.
I have not seen one person online saying, I love it, sign me up. But that's not what the algorithm shows me. So if you see anything like that, please tag me in it. I want to see.
No, and this is where you hold these leaders to account. I mean, President Trump is not Jesus. I know that there are some people that think he is. He's a human being. And so, he's going to make huge mistakes. I think this is a massive mistake on day 2 of his administration. And I hope that this gets pulled back and the United States does not put any tax dollars behind this. And I want to know what the hell's going on with RFK Jr. and these cushy relationship with Bill Gates. We need answers on that. So we'll follow the story. We're not going away from that story.